After seeing the title, I know what you guys are gonna say. Jordan, didn't you just make a video about the Focusrite Scarlett Solo and how it was gonna change your audio and it was gonna be so amazing? Yeah, I did. And the Focusrite is a great little addition, but as you may have noticed from the last few videos, I haven't been using it. It makes the audio amazing. Having a condenser microphone just a few inches away from my mouth makes it so nice. But in order to use this, I have to pull out my laptop, I have to connect it up over USB, I have to open a piece of software, it's a lot of steps. Syncing everything up in post is also a bit of a pain, but it's really not that big of a deal because I've started using Final Cut Pro and that takes care of everything. I am going to keep the Focusrite around and have it as an alternative to be able to test XLR microphones and also to use for doing better sounding voiceover type things when I need to. But to try to make this a little bit easier, aside from just using the shotgun microphone that I've got overhead, which as you can probably hear introduces a lot of echo, I've bought something else. This is not a brand new item or anything, it's been around for several years actually. It's a Tascam DR-60D Mark II. I have a Tascam DR-05 digital recorder that I've used so much in the past. I still use it all the time. So I've had a pretty good history with Tascam products, and literally everywhere that I looked, this was the most highly recommended thing that I could find. And actually the main reason I hadn't picked it up yet was I thought it was a lot more expensive than it was. This thing was only 175 bucks. I say only, you'll see what it does here in a minute. But I thought it was in the $300 to $400 price range and just never bothered to look. But inside the box for it, you're not gonna find a whole lot. You've got this user guide, you get a mini USB cable, not terribly long, maybe 2 feet, and then the recorder itself. And there are a lot of really cool things about this recorder. As you can see, there are a ridiculous amount of controls because this is a 4-channel audio recorder. Because we have 2 XLR inputs, one left and one right, a stereo input, just sort of a line in, camera input, so if you wanted to do that you could, camera output, another camera output, headphone output, and a remote control option, though I don't have the remote for it. You've got a little tripod mount on the bottom, another tripod mount on the top, because technically you're supposed to put this in line underneath your camera. So you put the tripod, put the camera, you're good to go. And the reason I really like the idea of this, the preamp that's built into my camera, meaning when the microphone plugs in directly into the camera, the microphone amplifier built into this camera and the grand majority of cameras is pretty bad. But the preamps built into this are not bad. And because it has 2 different camera outputs, one low and one high, I could actually turn the audio down inside of the camera next to nothing, so the camera doesn't have to do any sort of work, and let this do all the work, which is what I plan to do. I'm not going to go through the whole setup process or anything with you. There are loads and loads of videos and guides out there about it. Caleb from DSLR Video Shooter did a video about this, so I'll see if I can link to his stuff down below. But basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my XLR microphone overhead and possibly some of the other XLR mics that I've tested over the last couple of years. I'm going to plug into this thing and give you some audio samples using it, both plugging into my camera as well as just recording it directly to this and syncing it up after the fact. The huge benefit here for me is, one, I can plug directly into the camera with it and, assuming that all goes well, not have to do any sort of post-processing or syncing or anything. But 2, if something absolutely goes horribly wrong getting it from here to the camera, I can have a backup copy on here that's clean. And what's more, you can actually record a dual track, so it'll have a second track built into it that's quieter. So if something happens, if you spike it out, if you scream or something, you'll have a second track that has clean audio that's much, much quieter that you can bump it up after the fact. So many options for 175 bucks. Up to this point in the video, I've been using the Audio-Technica AT8024 microphone sitting on top of my camera. It's about 2 feet away from me right now, and it is literally just plugged straight into the camera with a 3.5mm cable. And we're back. Welcome to the Tascam DR-60D Mark II using the Focusrite Scarlett CM25 Mark II microphone that we looked at in the previous video. In terms of settings, right now, this should be coming directly from the camera. I've turned all the settings in the camera down, so we're at -12 dB inside the camera. The microphone limiter is turned off. And in terms of the Tascam, I'm plugged in using XLR. I've got the XLR turned up to about 75% set to mono, using the camera out low set on about 9. Because in all the testing that I did off camera, I found that the low side had less noise for me in terms of my camera. The high side was just really overblown for me. It was way too much power. It was, even with the camera set to -12 dB, it was blowing it out. But again, in the testing that I've done, both the audio from the Tascam and the audio from the camera sound very nice. The one from the Tascam does sound just a little bit cleaner, a little bit better, but also quieter. So you'll see I'm bumping it up in post. So this is the first XLR microphone that I ever took a look at. This is the Transshine TS99. I'm just holding it in my hand a few inches away from my mouth. I did some very brief testing with this one and everything sounded okay. Although again, in my testing, there was a bit of a background hiss to it, just like there was when I made the original video, but the audio quality not that bad. This is the Tonor BM700 microphone. I don't have a windscreen or anything on it, but I'll try to keep my plosives at bay, as it were. When I'm testing these microphones out now, I'm trying my best to make sure that when I'm talking, the levels inside of the Tascam are registering at about -12 to -14 decibels, which from what I've heard from other channels is where it should be. But here you can hear it inside of the camera, and then we can move it over to the Tascam so you can get a good point of reference. And here's the Marantz microphone that I looked at very recently, the $15 shotgun microphone. As you can see, I do have it right up next to my mouth, and it's not putting very much out. I've got the gain on the Tascam on this XLR input set up to like 75%. I can go ahead and turn it up a little bit more. It does have some more wiggle room here. That's getting closer to where I really want it to be, but I'm having to put out a whole lot more gain, which is probably going to introduce a little more noise. Let's see if there's any in the background. So there you go. I can also switch it over to its super cardioid, tele, zoom mode, whatever it is, with the switch all the way out. Significantly more power at that point, it seems. I'm able to turn the gain down to like 30%. Everything else left exactly the same, and it seems to be doing a much better job, but it's also going to make it much more narrow, much more focused beam of sound. And it's still about 2 inches from my mouth. And now we're back over on the Focusrite CM25 Mark II overhead. It's about a foot away from my mouth at the moment, and I do have the gain set on the XLR on the Tascam back up at about 90%, 85%, something like that. It's a dial, so there's really not any way to tell other than just knowing how far you've turned it. But the levels in the camera do seem to be about where I want them to be. The levels on the recorder appear to be about where I want them to be, maybe just a little bit high, actually. So there we go, we're back to about 75%. And again, this is not necessarily a test of any one specific microphone or anything, just sort of adding more flexibility to the way that I record things, without necessarily needing a dedicated computer sitting beside me running all the time capturing audio, and giving me more ways to test the audio products that I do test when I do test them. I've only scratched the surface as to what this Tascam can do and what it can be used for. You can record multiple mics at the same time, up to 4 different channels at once, 2 XLR and 1 stereo line in. You can add phantom power for the 2 XLRs if you want to, or not if you don't need it. You can mix things, there's so many menu settings. Again, make sure to go check out Caleb's video over at DSLR Video Shooter, or whoever else I choose to link to down below, because there are a bunch of really good tutorials out there about it. This is just sort of my experience with it. So if you're looking for a very impressive external audio recorder, XLR preamp for your camera, sort of all-in-one bundle, and you're looking in the less than $200 range, I think this is going to be a really great addition. And the form factor is realistically just a little bit larger than the Tascam DR-05 I was using previously. It's a little over twice as thick and almost the same size in the hand, but it packs in so many more features, so I'm good with that. So again, I'll put a link to where you can find this down in the video description. I paid about $175 for it, and I think that's the common price for it, B&H, Adorama, Amazon, wherever else. So let me know what you think of it down in the comment section below. Thank you guys as always for watching. Make sure to hit the thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to the channel to get notified anytime I put out a new video. Also make sure to ting that little bell so you do actually get notified when new videos come out, and I'll see you again next time.